An inventory of the personal estate of Luther A. Crossman, late of Bristol, in the county of Bristol, physician, deceased, taken and appraised upon oath by us, the subscribers, duly appointed for that purpose by the Honorable Court of Probate of the town of Bristol, in the county of Bristol aforesaid. That is to say, 1 clock, $20, 1 old medical book, 25 cents, 1 iron mortar, $1.50. Total value, $21.75. Cost for appraising, $1.50. The above inventory was exhibited to the Court of Probate May 14, 1811, which was examined and allowed by the said court. Recorded by George Monroe II, probate clerk. And thus, with this document, began my descent into a rabbit hole. Hello, people of the internet, my name is CJ, and today, I would like to tell you a story. I first saw this document on October 31st, 2024, Halloween, at 2:31 p.m. in the vault at the Town Hall in Bristol, Rhode Island. I had looked at many different property inventories that day, but this one stood out to me as strange. Only 3 items. Not only were there just 3 items, but they also seemed to me to be a fairly random selection of items to be the only 3 possessions of this Luther A. Crossman at the time of his death. Several years prior, we find this inventory of the estate of Richard Gears, a mariner, which was taken on the 2nd day of September in the year 1800. At the time of his death, Gears had in his possession several things, like a bed, 2 tables, 7 chairs, and several other smaller items. Even with all of these more conventional items, the total value of the personal estate of Richard Gears was a mere $12.75. Looking at these 2 inventories next to each other, I was very confused. One of them, while being valued at significantly less, contained items I would expect to see as the only possessions of a person who was not doing particularly well financially. The other, while not containing any items I would think unusual for a doctor in this time period to own, also contained none of the same everyday items as the previous. I was now on a quest to discover any information I possibly could about Luther A. Crossman. The next place I looked for information was the land evidence records. I wanted to see if Luther A. Crossman had ever purchased land in Bristol. And because of the low value of the estate, I didn't expect to find anything, but I did. On the 12th day of November, 1800, Luther Andrew Crossman, physician, purchased a piece of land in Bristol from Bernard Smith, a merchant, for the sum of $900. I was somewhat surprised to see this, though with 11 years between this deed and the inventory of his estate, I considered it a possibility that he had either made some very bad financial decisions in the intervening years or had simply had terrible luck. At this point, I decided to search for Crossman's name and all of the information I vaguely knew about him on the internet to see if there was anything I had missed, and it turned out there was. I had previously looked for Crossman's name in Bristol's vital records, but hadn't found anything. There was, however, a reference to him that I had missed. In the list of deaths, Crossman, Dr. Luther Andrew, at sea, June 10th, 1804. This means that 7 years had passed between his death and the time when his estate was inventoried. At this point, things seemingly start to make a bit more sense. As of now, I think that the most likely situation is that Luther Andrew Crossman had a much larger number of possessions, and that in the 7 years following his death, all of the more valuable or desired possessions mysteriously disappeared, leaving only these 3 random, potentially undesirable items. Within a couple months of his purchase of land from Bernard Smith, Crossman had sold the land back. Every deed of land signed by Luther A. Crossman was also signed by his wife, Sally. Crossman was married to Sarah, or Sally, Smith. Sally was a daughter of Stephen Smith, who had served as captain of the Bristol militia during the Revolutionary War. Upon his death in 1799, Sally had inherited $400 from her father's estate. It appears that as of the 1800 United States Census, Luther and Sally had 2 young children. In 1801, Luther A. Crossman was part of a committee which purchased a piece of land on Hope Street from Nathaniel Monroe on behalf of St. Michael's Episcopal Church. The following year, he sold a piece of land to James DeWolf, a wealthy slave trader and future United States Senator. Sometime between October 23, 1802, and June 10, 1804, Luther Andrew Crossman boarded a ship, never to return to Bristol. On the question of where and when Luther Andrew Crossman was born, I'm not sure. His birth is not recorded in Bristol. Multiple genealogy websites and one Crossman family genealogy book claim that he was born in Stoughton, Massachusetts in 1769. There was a Luther Crossman born in Stoughton in 1769, though that birth record makes no mention of the middle name Andrew, which leaves me skeptical as to whether or not this is the same individual. There is doubtless more information about the life of Dr. Luther Andrew Crossman to be uncovered, but as of the making of this video, this is what I've found.